Hi, good evening everybody. So this is IJ Knowledge Forum, and the first topic is how can brands create powerful, engaging content on Instagram. See, everybody today is a content creator, and Instagram has become a powerful marketing tool over the years for brands who are looking to engage with their potential audience. But with Instagram's algorithm changing by the minute, how can brands create powerful, engaging content to increase brand engagement, thereby generate conversions? Is it understanding the latest algorithm updates? Is it keeping abreast of trends on social media? Or is it just staying original to who you are or what your brand is? To discuss this very relevant and important topic, we have with us three extremely successful women on the panel today. First, we have with us Nikita Gupta, founder Amama, an ardent fan of bohemian style. New Delhi-based designer Nikita Gupta was trained under brands such as Louis Vuitton and Forever 21 before starting an accessory label that echoed her artistic aesthetic. She's a retail management graduate from Pearl Academy who took inspiration from her heirloom silver jewelry she inherited from her grandparents. Please give it up for Nikita. Next, we have with us Tarini Manchanda, content creator and founder of The Initial Studio. Tarini currently runs The Initial Studio, which is a design studio and e-commerce platform for personalized products. She studied anthropology and international marketing at SOAS University of London, where she learned the importance of understanding what the consumer wants and worked with creativity across cultures. Though she's serious about design and has strong opinions on aesthetics, she believes everything must elicit joy, and that is reflected on her social media. Her Instagram handle has close to 100K organic followers with a highly engaged community of largely 25 to 35-year-old women. She's worked with international and Indian clients across different industries. Tarini also loves working with homegrown brands and aims to build a safe community of like-minded individuals where ideas and opinions can be shared freely. Give it up for Tarini. And now we have a very familiar face, Preeta Agarwal. Preeta Agarwal is a New Delhi-based jewelry specialist who dedicates a majority of her time in writing about fine jewelry for her award-winning blog, Jewellery Finds, and for various leading international jewelry journals like the Jewellery Editor, Rappaport, Solitaire Singapore, Forbes India, Make in India, and more. With over 60,000 followers on her Instagram page, she's one of the most knowledgeable voices in the jewelry industry across India and globally. Please give it up for Preeta. Am I audible? Yeah. So the first question is for Nikita. Thank you for joining us, Nikita.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that Amama is a digital-first brand. Your account has about 172K followers and counting. I first wanted to ask you, every brand has a social media voice. Can you define Amama's social media voice?
If I'll talk about Amama's social media voice, I'll say it actually all began in pandemic, because before pandemic we were also trying to figure out what is exactly our language for the brand. So in pandemic, when we were all at home and I started making videos, is when I started realizing that people when it comes to jewelry, just like maybe clothes, because with clothes people were still doing a lot of styling, reels, and reels were just catching up that time. That styling of jewelry is also something people want to understand, that layering and how do you want to do your earrings, do you want to do like a stacking of bangles. So once I started doing that, I realized that Amama's actual language is understanding how to exactly style jewelry. So that's where I think Amama's audience resonated over the past 4 years that the brand has been in existence, by relating with the content that we were doing in terms of making all those reels and seeing the kind of what should I say, the whole styling bit only, I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
So Instagram also has gone through like a seismic change from the time you began till today, right?
Yes.
So how has it changed from a very content point of view for you as a brand?
So earlier, if I'll say, because there was a time again in pandemic when there was the whole world was sitting on the internet and just grasping content. But that's not the case anymore. You need stronger content to be taking audience attention, because there is lots happening.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is out there doing something, whether it may be lifestyle or jewelry or clothes or everything. There is no dearth. You will pick up one topic and there are like lakhs of people talking about that one topic. So in all that pool, making the right noise for yourself is very, very difficult.
Right.
There it's all about, what kind of people say. If you will give the informative content, that will make sense. But how much information also can you give?
Sure.
How many hacks can you tell?
Right.
Yeah, so you have to create a balance between, maintaining a language for your own brand, and also at the same time working towards making the engaging content and going by the trends of reels and what is the trending music. You want to use that music or no, whether that music goes with your brand personality or no, but you have to create that balance. And from my experience, I feel in all said and done, consistency is the only key with Instagram or just social media.
Right.
You can't be, as a brand or as an individual, also be thinking that today I'm going to relax and not make content, and I will think about it 4 days later whether I want to post or no.
Right.
So yeah.
So Tarini, couple of questions. What does being an influencer mean to you? And secondly, you have close to 100K followers. So how did you build that loyalty?
Okay, so being an influencer, I think, is something that
Can you
sorry, is
how
it-
mic?
is it on extreme? Yeah, maybe this one. Hi, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think being an influencer is something that can't be reduced to just number of likes or number of followers that you have. I think an influencer is anybody, and I'm guessing anyone in this room who has sort of the power to impact or influence your decision making. In my case, very often it's the decision to buy something or live a certain way. And very often it's at a subconscious level and it's not direct. So it's not like someone will tell me about something today and then the next day I'll be doing it. I think it's a much longer process, and contrary to popular belief, it's not an overnight. Like, influencing doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, and in terms of just building a loyal follower base, I think like Nikita said, I think consistency is definitely key. And the other thing is to just try and be as honest as you can and be as authentic as you can, and try and find your voice and not be scared of sharing. So I think that is the only thing that I would say.
Right. So Preeta, you're in a very interesting space, right? You have a mix of both B2B and B2C followers. So how do you sort of strike that fine balance of not following the Instagram trends, but also making sure you stand out and differentiate yourself?
So because I have a mixed audience, I try and give mixed content. So there are times that I do high jewelry, like from Doha or Paris Fashion Week, and then 2 weeks later I would be doing something about brooches, like a whole series around how to wear brooches, how to style brooches. Then I would again go back to high jewelry. Then I would again go back to jewelry hacks, 6 days of jewelry hacks. So I have to keep switching so that people don't get bored. I'm not doing one kind of content.
Right.
I do follow trends, but if you see, it's very, very less.
Right.
I try and create a series where I feel it will give some knowledge or some aspirational content to the end user. High jewelry is aspirational.
Right.
Not all of my audience, maybe not even 0.1% can afford those kind of pieces that I showcase. But it's aspiration. You like to see them. You like to see like a 50 carat Tiffany ring. Who wouldn't want to see that, And those kind of pieces get the best in terms of reach.
Sure.
Because everybody is like just wowed by them. And then I go back to practical, user-friendly content. So that's how I keep that balance.
So this question I want to ask you both as well as a brand for you, Nikita. There's, as you said, there's just so much noise out there. But how do you ensure that what you put out on your social kind of stands out, and you're relevant and you have like organic engaging?
So first of all, because I'm a brand that's doing costume jewelry, again, costume jewelry market is also very crowded.
Yeah.
So first of all, the product has to speak for itself, and then you have to put out the product out there. You got to, just show the quality of the product and exactly the design and how you are actually different from everyone who is in the market. So with Amama, I think because early on we introduced the concept of embroidered jewelry, which was the whole idea of very, very light jewelry on your neck or your ears. So I really tried to make content around the whole USP of my product, which I felt was that time. And now because we have also entered into brass jewelry, so then whatever collection we launch, if there is a USP I feel of that certain product, which I also try to, like for example, I have worked with Tarini quite a lot. And Tarini also has bought a few pieces from Amama, and certain pieces she also felt were lightweight. So that's one thing that we really try to sell with Amama, that jewelry is something doesn't have to be heavy. There is lightweight jewelry also in costume, because costume jewelry usually people worry about the quality. If there's a certain kind of price you're charging, it should be according to the quality. So all those USP we try to build our social presence on, or whatever content we are trying to make is all around the USP of our product or brand.
And Tarini, you work with a lot of jewelry brands, right? What's your approach to vetting brand collaborations, deciding if a partnership is right for you?
Okay, so there's two things. One is how much I like the product, and second is how much they pay me. So if I'm being really honest, that is my vetting process. But I do now, I think more than ever, and this is why I'm really enjoying currently the phase I'm in, because I think that I'm trying to select things that organically work in my life, and honestly that is what works the best with my audience. Because the minute, I think Instagram actually, and people are more intelligent than they let on. I have a very opinionated, very intelligent audience. The minute they feel that I'm being inauthentic or I'm lying about something, it just falls flat. So it's kind of like, I think that's been a huge deciding factor for me. Like, is this me? Like, will I wear this in real life, talking about jewelry?
No, but that's a very good point. You cannot fool the audience.
Yeah, it's a very intelligent audience.
You
You can't fool the audience.
Right. And Preeta, you also advise a lot of brands out here about how they should sort of about their digital strategy, right? What do you think fine jewelry brands can learn from brands like Amama, because they've got their A game on? So what do you think they can learn from, just to take off on the point that you can't.
But I would like to add that Preeta was one of the first accounts, or actually I can say the account I followed as a jewelry person, who really inspired me to understand the whole line. Although she was doing fine jewelry and I'm costume jewelry, but all in all it's the jewelry world that we belong to.
Right.
So I was really inspired by Preeta's, and as she said, those aspirational pieces are really fun to watch. It gives you an inspiration to how we can bring something like this in our costume jewelry world. Inspire, not like copy. But yeah, she has been quite inspiring that way.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Well, to come back to your answer, when I advise brands, I tell them how Nikita is doing. There's a person behind the brand. Most fine jewelry Instagram pages are like catalogs of well shot images, product shots, model shots, good well shot reels and videos, but there's no person. Who's the brand by? Where is the brand? What does the showroom look like? What does the team look like? Who's the owner? Who's the designer? Who's the mind or the soul behind the brand? There is nothing. You just open the page and it's like a product catalog.
Yeah.
Through and through. So my advice is that the person who's viewing your page is also a person.
Yeah.
They want to connect to another person.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody, like if Nikita is there, they can see her. They know she is the founder. They know if they DM her, she will respond as Nikita, not as a social media manager sitting somewhere. When I get DMs, I reply myself.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I saw your latest reel where I think you're sort of playing with your kids. Yeah, and we were just talking about this, you have like a constant tussle with your creative team about this. So how has that worked out for you?
Well, it's still a fight, and it's every day a fight, and honestly there is no solution to it, because I keep talking about that I want engagement, I want numbers, because engagement will bring more people will bring more sales, and they talk about you what do you want to crowd it like any other Instagram page which has no language, because if you will keep doing very random stuff, there will be no language on your page.
Sure.
And if you want to maintain a language, then the catalog kind of stuff also has to be done, especially with a brand.
Yeah. But it has to be a balance.
It has to be a balance.
Like on her page also, I've seen that there are times that there's a good fashion shoot, like you did a run, like a show recently. So there are professionally shot pictures which will come on Instagram.
But honestly, Preeta, whatever amount I end up spending on these, big campaigns, the engagement is really less.
So I just want to add, I think a lot of people forget, and I think that social media is meant to be social. And it's not a TVC. It's not a monologue. There's a dialogue that has to be created. And everyone always says, oh, what's the trick of like high engagement? I'm like, be engaging. Like talk to people, be social, reply to your audience, try and understand what they want. And also, I read somewhere and it basically said that if you want to build an engaging brand, you have to either educate, you have to either entertain, or you have to inspire. So either you are doing like your hacks fall under that education category, right? Your entertainment may be a day out with the kids or the dogs, and the inspiring may be the Tiffany diamond. So it has to be like a mix of that. And I think sometimes when people are just throwing out content, they forget that it has to create a dialogue. So for me, like every post I put out, I always think that what is the user going to get out of this? So I think that's like a good way to figure out how you want to cut the noise or create the right noise.
Right, but if you look at Instagram of late, there's something so silly, has so many views and you don't know why. But on the other hand, something actually really good and intelligent, it falls flat. So then how do you make that call?
No, and I think that's what she was saying, is that you still want your brand or as an individual to adhere to a certain aesthetic, and to answer your question, I feel that's short-lived. Right. And I think that's like an overnight success of like someone dancing somewhere and all of that. And I think cool, they live in that moment for that moment, but that moment will pass.
It's not long lasting.
It's not long lasting.
Right. It's not going to help build the brand. It's not like a part of your journey. It's just coming on.
Right.
It's like 15 seconds of fame, no?
I mean it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
So I think that.
So this question is for all three of you actually. How important is it to like stay abreast of these Instagram and TikTok trends? We were talking earlier and you said you're very careful. You study the numbers and the metrics and all of that. So what do you do as a brand, like, to stay abreast of trends and understand what works and what doesn't?
Again, there is no like short way of knowing how to understand what trend is going to work for me or no. The whole thing is that first of all we work with a lot of influencers.
Right.
So for us, in a way, that also works that they will follow the trend and we just have to be with them, collaborate or whatever kind of association we have. So they will do their part in following the trend. So we don't really worry about that. And if I talk about making content for my brand personally, then I do end up following few trends which I feel resonate with me as a personality and resonate with the brand. Because there are a lot of trends I see on Instagram which I feel even if I end up doing, maybe my own husband will be sitting next to me and laughing, what are you doing? This is not even you. Why are you doing this just for the gram? So you have to like just understand your own personality also and the brand, and then only make content. Just following something blindly because you might just end up getting 1 million views won't work.
But no conversions.
No conversions, because with us that's the main thing. It's really not about influencing. We have to get numbers at the end of the day. So
Tarini?
So to add to that, I think there's a few things. So I think that not all trends are bad. Like I think that wheel has been invented, so why don't you benefit from it? I think that Instagram, if you, like I said, if you look at your own insights and whenever they launch a new feature, of course I'm not saying like a trending reel of like say dancing or avocado toast or whatever may not work, but if Instagram is launching a trending audio feature, then you should kind of, I feel at least, use that. Or when they launch remix, like they just launched a remix feature, use that. So I think whenever they give you a new feature to use, I think that's a good way to experiment. So my person, like on my Instagram, I think I noticed a huge growth when I started using Reels. And that's also using a trend, but it doesn't necessarily mean what's trending, but I think that's another way of just saying use the algorithm for yourself, to understand the algorithm.
Right. Preeta?
Well, in high-end jewelry, not all trends. There's like a very small percentage of trends that I can actually use, because when it comes to fashion and clothes, there's so much you can do. But with high jewelry, because one, it's a very, very expensive item.
Right.
And I can't just keep dancing around with $1 million necklace, you know, it look very silly. And I have to give it that respect and that the luxury that, you know, I'm trying to showcase. So most of the trends don't apply to what I do.
Right.
So I have to be very careful of which trend I'm using and how I'm using it. It's a very small percentage. So if you see on my page, you will not see most of the trends that have come and gone have not happened. But yes, there are few which, if I'm traveling, then I try and make some of those fun reels and all that, because I'm traveling and I'm having fun. But for high jewelry shows and all, I don't do that.
Right.
Also, to be honest, with jewelry, I feel making content is anyway a little difficult
Yeah.
as compared to clothes.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on the whole self of you, then the clothes come more in focus. And if you're talking only about jewelry, then you keep showing like this. And then you are like, how do we make the whole person understand what is the style behind this jewelry? So to make the content according to that, the jewelry is in focus and the garment is not in focus, but then also you're able to show the whole look, it gets a little tricky. So I a lot of times get a mind block that is it even going to show the thing that I'm trying to show? Is it even going to show the jewelry? What new transition should I bring in this so that people understand that jewelry is changing? So it gets a little tricky with jewelry that way.
Right. And Tarini, you do make campaigns that are tailor-made for social. So what are the factors that you take into account when you launch a campaign for your collections? Oh, sorry, Nikita.
Yeah.
Nikita. Sorry.
Okay, I did not pay attention to the question.
No, so you make ad campaigns that are tailor-made for social, right? So what are some of the factors that you take into account when you're making a campaign for a particular collection?
So, like I'll talk about this collection we're launching next week only. We're first time getting into silver jewelry. So the whole idea of Amama was started from the fact that I inherited jewelry from my dadi, silver jewelry, old silver jewelry. So now we have over the years collected a lot of old silver jewelry, which we are tweaking and making and coming up with a collection. So we're coming, I'm revealing the campaign already. But yeah, we're coming up with the campaign about whole passing of jewelry, that how in India, especially with women, and if I talk about our dadi nani's time or mummy's time, how they were like, working women were lesser that time, and they used to like really hold on to all the jewelry that they had, and that was like their biggest asset as a woman, as a homemaker. And how passing on that jewelry from one generation to another, to their daughters, daughter-in-laws, is a very, very big thing in India especially.
Right.
That this is what I have given to my daughter, apart from
It's a
the...
woman's legacy.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
legacy
yeah.
that women's possible.
That's what they call that their contribution to their kid's life, apart from what the earning member of the family does.
Right.
So we are building campaigns according to that. Coming back to your question.
Right.
So we build campaigns according to that. For example, last week we launched a collection with Rimzim Dadu, last week. That time we saw that the collection was we used bone craft, and the collection was very heavy on gold plating and stuff. So we accordingly launched it with Rimzim Dadu, and we used an African American model for that because we wanted the gold to come out. So that way we differentiate the campaigns and how we want the jewelry to stand out with, and how each collection should look different from the previous collection, and not like just a flow of same collection happening.
Sure.
So that all collections stand out.
Right. And Tarini, can you give us an example of a recent brand collab you had that got like a lot of traction? It could be anything.
So this isn't a brand collaboration, but it was my wedding reel. It got over 1 million views, but it was a very specific wedding reel. It was about the jewelry that I wore.
Okay.
And I think that jewelry is, like you said, I think it's so much more emotional than other luxury items, because there's always a story, especially if it's inherited. So either it's an heirloom, or it might be the first piece that you're buying for yourself, or any piece that you buy, or it's a gift. So I think with every piece of jewelry, there's a story to be told, and I think that's why I'm so attracted to this sector. So my wedding reel that did well was basically about how I recycled every piece of jewelry that I wore. I didn't buy anything new for my wedding day. It was all heirloom. There was a necklace that I wore as a waist belt. And again, with jewelry, you can get creative. I recycled my grandmom's bangles as earrings. So I think people really enjoyed watching that. And again, I guess it worked because I wasn't selling anything. I was just selling the concept of being able to recycle beautiful pieces. So.
Right. Nikita, I want to ask you, how important is it today for brands to think beyond their products and profitability and take into account like the social fabric, like what is happening today, like in terms of inclusivity, sustainability and all of that, because a lot of these homegrown brands are increasingly focusing on that. What's your take on that?
My take is, I'm going to be very honest about it. As long as there is the right kind of profit or the money coming in, then only you can concentrate on such factors. Let's be honest. Ultimately, for a homegrown, till like 3 years back when Amama had just started, the expenses were lesser and profits could be better. The profit margins were better. But if I talk about today, the profit margins has really reduced. So I cannot be only focusing about that I have to make a social impact or something like that. That takes a backseat, and I'm being very honest about it. If there is not the right kind of profit or the profit margin coming in, you will be only able to concentrate on those things once you know that back end your salaries are going on time and your product is coming out. Because as soon the brand starts getting a little bigger, the quality starts deteriorating, or you start hiring a mediocre level of karigars or something, which is something that I am trying to work on. That I do not want to get clouded by the whole idea of that there is a certain social media presence Amama has, and then we can just leverage on that. No, ultimately the product has to speak for itself. So I feel that as long as your back end is strong or your numbers are strong, then only you will be able to. Yes, once all that is in place, yes, sustain. Like for example, for Amama also, we used to do a lot of plastic wrapping for our jewelry, because in transit costume jewelry breaks. Whatever may I do, it breaks. I used to wrap it 10 times in bubble wrap, and then wrap the box, wrap this, and then on the gatta, all those things we used to do. And then also customer used to toot gaya. I was like, kya kare ab isko theek karne ke liye? And there was a lot of plastic we were using. So we switched that. We tried to understand corrugated boxes, and then potlys, paper, ye wo karke. So we tried to reduce the plastic as much as we can. But we couldn't have done that like 2 years back, because plastic is cheaper. Paper is expensive. But we can include that now. So it has to be a gradual process. So that's what I feel. That
Tarini, would you like to add to that?
No, I think I 100% agree. But I also think that you can, representation of different body types, of different skin colors, of different even nationalities, different cultures, different races. I think that's something that your brand can incorporate without spending money on.
That's something very organically we can.
Yeah, but of course the CSR and charity work and all can only come once you're operating on profits. So I just wanted to add to that.
Okay, so sum it up. I'm going to ask all three of you one question. What are some of the biggest do's and don'ts from a content point of view on Instagram, and some myths that you would like to bust?
Well, do's and don'ts when it comes to Instagram. Well, like I said, don't make your page a product catalog. You have, and do's, yes, you have to have a person. Like we said, it's a dialogue. So you have to be present. If most of the owners of fine jewelry brands say, we don't know Instagram, we've just hired an agency. Can't do that. You have to be active on the platform to understand the platform, live on the platform, and then you can have an agency who's working, and then only you will be able to guide the agency.
Speaking as a content creator, I would say, maybe even as a brand, don't get too caught up with the numbers. As in, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with, I hope my post gets this many likes or this many views. I think that's one thing to avoid. As a person also, for me, I've stopped sharing my political opinion. I was getting trolled, so I stopped.
That's important.
Yeah, I think that's a don't. There's no need to like, you don't have to be an activist at all. You can talk about inclusivity, you can be neutral, and you can kind of, you don't have to shove your opinion down people's throat either. So I think that's a big don't as a content creator. And as a do, I think just keep sharing, keep being authentic, experiment, and have fun on the platform. I would say it's a platform for creativity.
Right.
So don't get too bothered by the numbers. Don't let that get in the way of your creativity.
As a brand, I'll say again one very important point which has really worked with me is being consistent. There are days when I used to not understand what to post, what not to post. I mean, I'm traveling or I'm having a baby, so I had 2 kids during the whole journey of Amama. But I had to be at it, post something or the other. You have to be at it. That's one biggest do, I will say. And again, as Preeta mentioned, you cannot be a catalog, because with Amama also, when it is just about a model picture showing the product, nobody resonates with it, nobody cares about, because there are 100 other campaigns people are seeing which almost look like identical to each other. And in fine jewelry market also more so because most of the exactly
just necks and necklaces.
Exactly. But in fact, I can talk about one particular brand in your fine jewelry market that's called Rose. House of Rose.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the brand's founder, I think, has been doing a little bit of that, has stayed with me, because I know that there is a founder who also does a lot of shoots for the brand.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is no fine jewelry brand I can remember or recall that, I remember this brand has a certain product.
I think Farah Khan is a very good example. She is literally driving her brand before anybody else was even on social media. Farah's been driving her brand herself. Her photography skills are so good. Most of the photographs that you see which are organic are literally shot by her in her office every day.
Yeah, it's the least processed it is, the better it is going to be.
I totally agree, and I think the algorithm now is working with that as well.
Yeah.
I think they like raw more real looking content. So it's almost like they want you to try a little less.
Right.
That is
and I would like to add to Tarini's number point that even if people have 5,000 followers on your page, imagine 5,000 people standing in a hall waiting in a line to see your product. So you have to create content for them which is relevant, which do that effort for those 5,000 people also. Don't need 5 lakh people. वो 5 लाख में से भी उतना ही लीड आ सकता है जितना 5,000 में से भी आ सकता है. It's just that how much effort are you putting for those 5,000 people? Because 5,000 people, imagine them in a hall.
I think even 200 people.
200 people. You have to put that effort for 200 people also.
And you want the right people. You don't want especially more so for fine jewelry, right? You want people who maybe not today, but maybe in a few years can afford to buy.
Whenever they have a requirement. See, fine jewelry is also about requirement.
Exactly.
I might see something today, I might like a brand today, but I might have a wedding in my family 2 years later and suddenly I'm like, oh, I saw that brand, let's go to that store.
Yeah.
With fine jewelry, I also feel, because Instagram is so much about knowledge and giving 15 seconds where you can tell a certain thing about a certain product. Like if I can learn a recipe in those reels, why can't I know about jewelry? I don't know how the diamond grading works, or I don't know how to identify a bad polki from a good polki. Educate that to me, on your page. Make me understand why.
I hope everybody's hearing.
What diamond to invest in, what kind of points I should be looking for, because as a consumer, I don't know any of this, and I don't trust half the people with the fine jewelry that they are going to dupe me of my money, and they're just going to charge more than what it is for, or they're charging just for the brand they have become. So maybe if I go with better knowledge about fine jewelry, I'll be able to invest my money better. So I think it's also about just giving the right knowledge, because Instagram has become about giving knowledge to people.
Okay. Last questions, a fun question. Is there anything called a social media break? Do you guys take break from social media ever? To come back rejuvenated?
in the dream. Take a break.
Right. I have taken breaks because there are times when because I'm working as a consultant also, and I'm working as an influencer also. So there are times that there is work for a client which is so hectic, or there's a project, or there's a showroom getting launched or something, then I'm just off. Now I have a team, so it's much better. Earlier when I was working on it alone, there were weeks that I would just go by without posting, and it would hamper my page, because suddenly if I'm not posting anything for a week, then the engagement has dropped, and then I come back, I have to restart from scratch. So it was affecting very badly, and that's why now I have people to kind of help me do all of that, so that even if I am away, at least there's content lined up for a week, and they just have to post.
Got it.
So that planning has to be done.
No, I think a break, honestly, just see, again, it's so different as a brand, as a content creator. I suppose as a brand, there is no such concept as a break, and it would, would be really harmful to the brand to take a break. But for me as an individual, as a content creator, I think breaks are necessary, and I think that social media as a platform can be quite anxiety triggering, and it can be quite stressful. So sometimes, of course, once in a while, but so far I'm enjoying it, and I haven't felt the need to kind of go off it, but who knows.
As a brand, you definitely cannot take a break. You cannot be thinking that I am gone to Paris. Now I have just written on the brand page that Amama is off to Paris, and now I have gone for a week. What is happening is in Paris is no one knows only. No, you can't do that.
So you have
That's
to
being
show what's
irresponsible
happening.
towards
You
your
have to
own.
literally show where you're going in Paris,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're
What
doing.
are you even doing in Paris?
What are you
Or just rather not announce na? Why? Malab, you can't be just irrationally just putting one post or something. गलती से लग गया कुछ and then उसके बाद गायब हो गए. No, you can't do that. I mean, you can do that, but yeah, just be ready to face the consequences of it. So yeah, you will have to be responsible for what you put on out there, and there is no break. As a brand, there is no break. You just maybe over the years build a team, and if you are not available, there is someone else who is on your behalf posting or doing the right kind of engagement with the audience. But yeah, you will have to be there all the time, 24/7.
Okay. Right. Questions? Yes. Can we please pass on the mic?
Hi, my name is Tarun. I'm from Navratna Jewellers. Question for the panel. So, while I was listening to you guys, a challenge that a brand, fine jewelry brand, has been facing is to disassociate the brand from the face, right? And I heard one of you say that perhaps helps in the social media engagement. How does one sort of find a right balance between promoting the brand and disassociating the face from the brand? Does that work? Is there a strategy around it?
Disassociating the face of the, I don't get it. Like,
so, like you said, the owner of the rose did a reel, and that sort of
Yes.
registered with you.
Yes, yes.
I think in essence what he would want to do to sort of, to maintain the continuity of the business, to have the brand resonate with the audience more than Biren himself. Biren is the owner of the rose brand. So you don't want to resonate, you as a consumer or anybody as a consumer would ideally want, as a brand owner I'm speaking, would want to resonate with the brand more than
No, but
Biren
I do
himself.
not remember I
I
remember
think
seeing.
what we were saying was that you have to have both on the page.
Right.
Yeah,
But what I'm
yeah.
saying is there sort of as a brand owner, my expectation will be to make brand stronger than my personal face.
Right.
There is a connect between the two.
Yeah.
But if one was to do that, then you are making you as the face of the brand, which may not be very ideal in the long term for the brand.
No, I'm sorry, but I do not agree to that, because especially if we talk about fine jewelry, there are brands who use very big Bollywood names to be as their brand ambassadors and all. So when you use those kind of faces, I still feel that, I see that brand for that actress or that model, that this person is wearing a particular brand. But when you yourself are a part of that brand or own that brand, for example, I do a lot of shoots and all for my own brand. I am known for my brand. My brand is not known for me. If I'm going somewhere, so people talk about, oh, Amama, she's from Amama, she is Amama. That's what people say, that, we see so many of your reels, your product, your stuff. So I really feel that if especially you yourself are representing your own brand, I don't think there is a need to disassociate. You have to have the right connect to understand that my audience only sees what, the right kind of content has to be there to not disassociate yourself from the brand. I feel that.
Also, I feel like how you put your about us on a website. Like if you're making a website, you would have a page of who's the founder, about us, So if you are dedicating 10% of your website about who you are and your legacy, why not do a 10% of yourself on social media also? There's a person behind the other phone also. They want to know who is the. So I'm not saying that you go all out. Like Nikita's proportion of her on her page might be a lot more, but in fine jewelry you can have a little, like a small, percentage can be lesser. It can't be as much as Nikita's on her page, but it has to be lesser. But at least maybe you can not show yourself prancing around in jewelry, but you can show what you're doing, what is your role. There can be an interview with you, you can talk about diamond knowledge, you can talk about your showroom, you can showcase your showroom once in a while. So you are sitting, there's a video where you're sitting and you're working, or you're sorting diamonds, or you're buying gemstones. You can even show if you're going to, for example, you go to a Bangkok show for gemstone shopping.
Exactly.
So a Bangkok trip from the owner's eye of what kind of gemstones you bought, and next 2 months down the line, what kind of jewelry have you made from those gemstones?
That's true.
So also I just want to add to your question, I think it really depends on the kind of brand that you want to build, and I don't think there's one right way, right? So in terms of just a branding strategy, I think that's a bigger question. And I think that social media again it responds better to a human angle. So of course that's something that you can't eliminate. But also I want to say that your brand doesn't need to have one face. It can have many faces. And I think that's what's interesting. And even now with very high-end brands like a Louis Vuitton, people want to know who the creative director is. They want to know who the big models are. They want to know the celebrities wearing the brand. They're all faces of the brand. So I think that it doesn't have to be owner-led at all. I think in fact personally I don't think that is the only strategy to do it. I think it's also user-generated content. So the celebrity is wearing your brand. What of course you are doing, because that's reflective of the brand ethos. And that does at some way come from the brand founder. So I think you answered your own question when you said that it has to be a balance.
Also for me, it started in pandemic because I had some stock at home and I had time at hand. So I started it just out of, it was more like out of necessity I started it. And secondly, I had to save money. I didn't want to invest in a model and all those things. That's why I had to start it on me. So it's not like I did it because I love being in front of camera. And a lot of people do not, they cannot. And what I started with was very kiddish. Yeah, because what I started with was very kiddish. My friends used to see it and laugh on me. What are you even doing? What kind of transitions are these? But you grow, eventually you grow. And for me, it worked like that.
And for it's easier for women because it's jewelry.
Yeah.
For men, it can get a little tricky. You can create bad content also. Like there is, I've seen a few videos of founders who are men and they're not pleasing videos. So they're doing very conscious and odd, doing whatever they're trying to do on a trending reel. So it's even more difficult for a man.
That's where information comes in. That with jewelry, just inform and give out knowledge.
Information, education, shopping of gemstones and knowledge. All those aspects are what you're doing in your daily life. That's as a founder of a brand you're doing anyways. Why not share it with your audience?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Just one moment.
Yeah, sure. In the meanwhile, do you think Instagram is on its way out? And if it is, what's next?
I don't think it's.
No?
I mean, I hope it's not.
Because, I see people all around, and me including.
Getting saturated.
I don't know, that's just getting too messed up. It's like, you know how you're addicted to something
Yeah.
and you're just like, now I want to get out of it, and I've come to a point of that.
No, I think for that Instagram also understands that and is evolving,
It's evolving a lot.
a lot.
Because every
They
time I'm
understand
on that
the-
page, I just see ads. So I'm not seeing content created by people who I'm following,
Yeah.
but I see ads more, and now that's getting toxic. So, you know, it's a personal.
I think then exactly like I think every user's journey is a bit different with the platform, and I think there is a lot of saturation because there are too many ads. But I think instead of finding a new platform so quickly, you might find different accounts to engage with instead.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that Instagram is going to go through a wave of saturation, and I think that users would want to see more thought-led content.
Yes.
And I think that every platform kind of has that, right? Like we started with, I think, MySpace or High Five, and then
Orkut, Facebook.
Facebook, and these are all just different platforms, and now it's actually the same platform just reinventing itself. So I see that happen. And I do think that more so we've become more comfortable with digital. So I don't see that going anywhere, personally.
Also, for example, I'll say that Facebook we feel is gone. None of us use Facebook that way anymore. But there are audience, like for a brand, we're still running ads on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's very, very important for us. And my parents are all on Facebook. For them, Facebook is the thing. Instagram is still very new to them or
I
alien to
enjoy
them.
Facebook because I love to read the
Exactly,
content. which on Instagram
exactly.
you
So
can't.
it's like again the proportion has to be compared. That Instagram will take a lot of time to
To
fade
go.
out, or because Facebook is also still relevant for a large
For a few
percentage
people,
of
yeah.
people.
But I think internationally TikTok has become very, very big. There are
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of Instagrammers who've shifted to TikTok.
Yeah.
In India it's got banned, but
Yeah.
it's coming back, okay.
Yeah.
But internationally a lot of brands, high-end brands are now very, very active on TikTok. So internationally I think, and that's why Instagram is also in that continuous evolution phase that, because they're competing with TikTok so much.
Yeah.
It's become
Hence
a
the
very
whole
I think
concentration on
Instagram
reels.
will
on
buy
reels
any
and
app.
stories and all of that is happening.
Instagram isn't going anywhere because they just keep buying every app. That's just.
Thank you so much, guys, for being with us on a Sunday, that too.